So with the drum kit broken out, now the next idea for me is to get the guitar to conform to the drum kit itself. How do we get that happening? What I do, as a big lesson I got from Joni Mitchell, which is changing the tunings. You can change tunings, of course, into anything. I think Lou Reed has one where it's all the same string. I can't remember which. It's like everything's a G, you know, whatever. It's a unison. The one I use that I like a lot is Dadgad, which is low to high D, A, D, G, A, D. And variations of that. I'll take the D down to a C. I'll take the G to an F sharp. So the reason I do that is because if you're playing solo, you want all 6 strings going at once. I do. It thickens the arrangement out. And to me, if all 6 strings made the trip to the gig, they should all work. They should all get work. You know, no dinner if they don't work. Dadgad is also great because you get the root and the fifth, which I love. It's rock and roll basically. It's the interval of rock, really. And coming up the neck, there are so many shapes that are involved. And again, the idea is simplicity, and the idea is really more on the rhythmic side than on the harmonic complexity side. It's more of a right hand technique than a left hand. And I've written lots of songs with it. There are all kinds of different ways to approach just using the thumb, just like that. And it'll all depend on where you go on the fretboard itself as to what's being used, what are unisons, what are octaves. I try and get rid of some of the unisons, and I'll also get rid of the unisons with melodies, sung melodies, so that I will have just more harmonic width to a song. I particularly like having it come down to a C as well, because the difference, the harmonic width between this low C and the harmonics up on the D up on the first strings, it's just so wide. There's so much that can be done. So the other great thing about this, I was going to get back to this, the bass and the bass and the kick lock. So why do they lock? They obviously lock because you're playing the same thing at the same time. So drums and bass are locked. This can be a nightmare for a band to not have the bass and kick locked and doing the same thing. There's the takes that you have to line them up, you have to get them to groove together. They are the same thing here. So that whole thing goes away. And if you are playing in a pocketed manner, you know that your rhythm section is tight because they're the same thing, same person playing the same thing. So I wanted to mention that. What I'd like to do now is flip the guitar up for a second. So with that, I've done a couple of different things. I've shown a few different things I've spoken about. One is the emergency snare. Right? So that all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to be fancy, I'm just trying to keep the snare happening. I'm thinking drums, I'm not thinking guitar at all. I exaggerated a few things, but this is very much what an electric bassist might do. Maybe it's some other decade, but it's something that a bassist might do. A little bit of a pop or a slap or something like that. All I'm saying is that it's available to you if you want it. It's a tool. You can use it. And I'm just pulling it away. And again, I'm pulling that kind of thing and implying the kick drum as I'm doing that. The rest of the guitar is available to you now. You're back where you started. You're just in an alternate tuning, so you can have little licks here. Everything's available to you as you were. You know, it's just you're in a different tuning. So the idea, obviously, is to mix and match this kind of thing as you're creating a bed for a song, for a vocalist. Maybe you're not the star of the show here. Maybe you're a sideman, or maybe you're half of a duo or something like that, and you have it's your job to comp. These are comping tools, and this can be used in any idiom, jazz or rock or whatever, whatever it is, blues, the other genres, whatever. I don't need to list the genres for you. I'm sure you know a few, and some that I don't even know. But I would bring up the fact that you can break up songs and arrangements by coming to this technique and then leaving it. Think again about how drummers will have a chorus and they'll be like cracking the snare real hard and doing all this kind of thing. And then for the verse, maybe they'll switch to cross stick, or they'll switch to some lighter iteration of their kit. And it's a different part. They're playing a different part. You can play that different part as well. You can go straight through. You could be strumming, full out strumming, whatever the hell. And get into a different place, a different dynamic area. Et cetera, whatever. I'm just making it up. Whatever. A beautiful thing about dropping to C is the intervals that you can get in the bass area while letting the upper strings drone. So. Sorry. And on and on. Whatever that is. That's like an R&B kind of feel to that particular song. Something I wrote thinking about Erykah Badu. So if you switch between seated and standing, standing up, would be standing up, just normal, whatever, you can switch up your set. Now, you think in terms more horizontally across different songs, across a performance, across a record, whatever. You can switch back and forth and have these different techniques available to different arrangements. And And it just opens up what you're able to do far more than anything, I can do. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's very rhythmic, and it's very rooted in the base of what music is to me, which is rhythm. I mean, the time is more important. The right hand is more actually important than the left. And so that's something that I've always wanted to stress in my own playing. So one of the things I talked about was the different ways you can utilize the rest of your body while you're setting a bed down, a groove down. One is you can use a stomper. You can just stomp your foot also. There are loop pedals, of course, and there's also your mouth, like what's involved. You can sing. There's vocals. There's lyrics. There's humming. There's whistling. We talked about before. Andrew Bird has done a lot to the great whistling tradition, I suppose. I think he puts it into loop pedals and he creates orchestras of whistling, which is incredible. Raoul Midon does a trumpet. He'll simulate a trumpet and will, basically scat or solo. He'll have trumpet solos in the middle of his songs, which are amazing. And of course, there's the tried and true harmonica. And these are great. These are just great ways to set yourself apart a little bit from just playing the guitar. This little night brace is very Dylan style. I remember being sort of self-conscious putting it on, but once you have something else to show, the associations, the folk music associations, kind of fade away a little bit with this particular look.